Hello everyone, this is Zivo and welcome to today's How Worthy video. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the new collab Hero Dai and talk about whether or not this unit is worthy of your investment. So different from the usual How Worthy video, I'll be including more of myself in my videos. Therefore, you're seeing this alien looking guy at the left hand side corner. So basically that's me and I'm the guy behind the channel. So yeah, without further ado, let us go through how worthy is Hero Dai Potentially. Okay, so before talking about the stats distribution, the arena, the Colosseum and stuff, we'll begin the video by talking about the story of the character. So for Dai itself, this character is from obviously Dragon Quest, The Adventure of Dai, and he's the main character there. And over here, it basically just summarizes the story in just a few paragraphs. But just take note that Dragon Quest has a very long history. It's been around for a very long time with multiple iterations in different consoles, different titles. So you guys can slowly discover if you like this character itself. So for those of you guys who are much younger, you guys probably don't know this character. But yeah, this character was really famous back in the older days. And with that, I'll just move on to the abilities, the stats distribution. So in terms of stats, attack, HP, defense, all pretty high, really amazing. But the thing about this stats distribution is that he's a one-handed sword user, so very similar to Marina, he needs to have these high stats in order to be viable in any game content, because one-handed sword stats distribution is usually not very good. As you guys can see, 14% defense, 12% HP and 8% skill damage is not the best, although it does has a 8% crit chance, so pretty decent in terms of crit chance component. But yeah, the one-handed sword is a limiting factor for the stats. So next up, we have a party buff, crit chance plus 40%, weapon skill regen speed plus 4%, 10% shield increase on battle start, and skill damage plus 6%. So in terms of the stat line itself, I think Dai is pretty decent, very viable. But if you take a look at the kit itself, the kit spells a lot of issue to me, because number one, normal attack is really straightforward. Evan-Sao Sword Technique to inflict melee damage to enemies, so he's a melee attacker. And in the EX weapon itself, there's the ability to fire additional sword beams, so I'll highlight the ability and how the swing will look like on above so that you guys know how this skill actually works. But this makes his kit really straightforward, very right click chase after the opponent kind of kit, a little bit like Bev. And in fact, the animation is very similar to Bev, so the sword beam deals additional DPS. That's the ability of the EX weapon. Then, like, yeah, this makes his normal attack just like a replica of Bev, and it's not very nice viewer experience because it just feels like a cheaper version of Bev it might take. But you get a sword wave animation, so that's that. We will forgive them for that. Then we have a chain skill, Giga Trash, very straightforward, 280% DPS melee damage. It's just a very simple skill that very standard down to bleeding thing as well, so it is something that I don't like. Then the last one is something which I think could have been a little bit better to make him slightly better, but then again, maybe the developers doesn't want him to be overpowered. So the special ability Draconic Aura increases damage dealt by Dai by 10% and decreases damage taken by 10% during battle. So on crit hit, he also increases melee damage by 20% for 4 seconds. So what this means for him, it's he deal a little bit more damage, takes a little bit less damage, and then he deal more damage when he crits. But the thing is, I think 10% is a really safe number. It's not gonna make him too powerful, but it's not gonna make him too weak as well. So he is usable, but from this kit itself, you guys can see that he's not that strong for PvE contents, more so for the PvP side. So I'll talk more about it later on. Then let's move on to the EX weapon. So yeah, the ability we went through already, so allows him to get an additional sword beam while slashing, so very good chasing capability. And then the EX weapon, Avant Slash X, or rather they should call it Avant Slash, maybe this is the skill name, right? So 270% DPS damage, 9.7 seconds. So my take about this EX weapon is the pre-skill animation is a little bit too slow. And usually if I'm playing Dai, it's very hard to actually land my skill before getting hit by my opponent's weapon skill, because there's a delay where he swing. I think it's a 0.51 second delay before he swings it, and if your opponent is fast enough, they can actually run out from the X animation coming out from this unit. So this weapon skill, not that good. But Dai's overall kit is very good just in terms of the dogfight mechanic. So that's that, and with that, let us move on to the next part, which is the Colosseum analysis. Okay, so in terms of the Colosseum analysis, I think Dai has no room for this mode because number one, he doesn't have a pick-off mechanic. He doesn't chase after any specific target. And number two, he doesn't have a kit that buffs your team's damage or offer more utility for your team. And number three, even though he does have damage reduction, even though he does have excellent stat, he's, I'll say, like, okay at max in terms of tanking. Like, the units in Colosseum just hits really hard with all the synergy. Your Mono Light synergy, your Little Princess damage reduction synergy, your full range synergy, he's just not gonna like perform well there. And that's why I will recommend you to use Dai in Colosseum. And in fact, he's not really amazing now because the thing is, dark offense is gonna always be a thing. So Arabelle, Noxia, Okma, as well as Daddy Cloud is gonna be a thing. But you guys can see that there's more Bevs, there's more Lupinas running around. So a basic unit like Dai that isn't really super OP is not gonna have any position in the Colosseum itself. So don't use him for Colosseum unless you have a lot of stats. But even if you have a lot of stats, you still don't use him because he's really not very strong there. And with that, let us move on to the arena side. So moving towards arena, I had the opportunity to run him, and personally I think Dai is an okay unit. Not the very powerful one, but you can definitely run him. So he's probably the strongest in a mini crit team because his kit just builds up a lot on damage boost. So getting a mini buff, defense buff, and a crit buff in the team and stack it with Dai's ability as a whole, he's a very good dogfight unit there. But then again, like I mentioned, he's a good dogfight unit, but not a really good weapon skill unit. So running him defensively might not be the best option, because his kit doesn't really reduce too much damage. 10% damage reduction isn't a lot, and his weapon skill is really slow. You get outchained by a lot of units out there. Therefore, I probably won't play him as a weapon skill unit because weapon skill cooldown 9.7 seconds isn't really the shortest as well. And the thing about that animation is you can actually dodge it. So that's why I think the straightforward way to play Dai would just to slot him into a mini crit team and then go dogfight your enemies from there. Okay, so last part we have the PvE side. Personally, I think Dai is not that strong for PvE because his ability just doesn't offer much to hit the bosses hard. And the thing about him is that the melee team or the melee raid team or boss fight teams, they are really strong already. You have Andres, you have Nari, you have FK, and even Knight and Kana. So I don't think Dai will be your topmost option if you want to use him for this type of content. Although you can use him for defensive co-op because his sword wave attack is able to mop really well. So you can clear the waves by just spamming normal attack and hitting the backline. So that's one thing that is okay for him. But in general, not a PvE character. Below are some reasons to pull or invest in Hero Dai. So how worthy is Dai potentially? Personally, I think Dai as a collab character has a lot of nostalgia reasons. So if you're somebody who really loves Dragon Quest, then pulling for Dai is definitely a must. But if you're just rating him off the general power level in Guardian Tales, I think he's a very skippable unit because his position has so many units that does it, right? Crit hit chance is a very common party buff, and like he doesn't even offer a niche in any specific game type. So just off the specific power level wise, he's not that good. But just off the nostalgia sake, you can probably pull for him. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you very much everybody for tuning in. And do remember to like and subscribe in order to see more how worthy videos from this channel. And I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.